Okay, this video we're going to fix some rust on the 240Z here. As you can see, we've got some nasty rust here in the box section at the bottom of the seal panel. So what I'm going to do is cut out as much as I need to, probably from there along here and then up, and then I'll unstitch the spot welds around, so less welding as possible. But I think it's also on the inside there. So we've got spot welds all around the edge. Just going to make a little pilot hole with a say a 3mm drill. Not all the way through, just want to break through the first panel, and then again with a spot weld drill bit, which is just a flat-ended drill bit. Now that's just going to cut the first panel. We don't want it like a normal drill bit because that'll cut both panels. We only want to cut one panel. So let's do it. So I've just done a couple just for example. That's with the pilot hole. It's only got to be as thick as the metal. Say this is probably 0.8mm thick, so it's got to be a 0.8mm deep hole. And that's making it go blurry with my finger, sorry. And that's the same with the spot weld drill bit. Now, rusty piece of shit. Got every intention of making it sick. I spent all my cash on eBay parts. Not gonna stop till I got a full car. I've just marked with a texter a line up from the end of the box section onto the side of the firewall there, and again the end of the seal panel line where the guard comes down. Just marked a line up so I know where to line it up with when I weld the new section in. So this is the section I'm using. I've already used the back half of it because it was rusty at the back, but the middle's solid as, so there's no rust there. So I didn't here is this section here, obviously, and that's that line that I just marked before. That's that line there, and same with the front. So I'm going to cut this out about here, then along here, then up, and that'll be the section I need. So there you go. Will I ever finish? I don't know. I'm just happy that it fucking goes. Alright, as you can see, I got it off. So got to get these bolt holes here and here. That's where the guard bolts at the bottom, or the wing if you're in England, London, somewhere like that. I've got to get them to line up as close as possible to where the original ones are. So what I'm going to do is put the pointy bit of that bolt into the new bolt hole. I hope you can see that. Alright, and then I'm going to do an approximate marker line on where I'm going to cut. Now I'm going to cut this bigger than what it needs to be, so that's why it's only got to be approximate. So probably My text is about dead, I think. I'm probably going to cut along the dotted line there. So I've got more than I need to, then I can trim it up afterwards when I've got it fitting where it needs to. I don't have any TIG gas, and I've also got to make a new piece of tin for here. Unfortunately I don't have that, so I've got to make it. So from about here across up to the... Will it be fast? Will it be quick? Will it be a big rusty piece of shit? Will it be fast? Will it be quick? Is it a rusty piece of shit? So I thought I made a rookie mistake and right here cut on the wrong side of the dotted line, but seems like I've got enough metal there to not have to worry about it. I thought I was going to have to do a double weld there, but that's not the case. Now, as you can see, that's that line that I put on the car before. I've got that lining up there, and you can't see the other one because, oh, hang on, there's my camera skills again, they're awesome. There it is there, you can just see it poking up there. That lines up with that, so that's perfect. So yeah, I'm going to trim this up and get it fitting right, but for tonight I've had enough. Oh, that was a good sleep. Rust, that's where we were. So I'm going to make a stencil. If you want to see how I do that in more in depth, you can go back to the Pontiac build part 2, I think it is, rust repairs, and yeah, I do a bit more in depth on that in that episode. So I'll get some paper, I'll set you up in the tripod, and I'm going to get into it. So I just drew out this quick stencil. As you can see, this part here is this part here. So what we've got to do is got to transfer that onto metal, and then with this part here I've got to stretch it, but not in the middle. I've just got to stretch around the edges so that I can create that shape without the panel warping. Oh, did I tell you how actual cold it is? Well, I didn't, and it is. It's very cold. So just putting these magnets on, just to hold it in place. I don't have my Sharpie on me. It's inside, and I could not be bothered going to get it. So I'm just going to use a lead pencil. Just trace around the outside roughly. Did I tell you how cold it is? Never mind, it's cold. Obviously I can't draw through paper, so bear with me 2 seconds while I find something sharp. Look at that. When in doubt, use a screw. What was I saying? Oh, it's bloody cold. Just rough outline. I'll trace it afterwards. I really should have my jacket on because it's cold. Not sure if I mentioned that before. I don't even know if you can see that. I can barely see it because I don't have my Sharpie and it's cold. But it's good enough. As my old man would say, a blind man would be pleased to see it. I don't want to offend any blind men, because you're alright. I don't think blind men will be watching my video anyway. Enough of the rambling. I've got to cut this out. It's been a week. Had other duties to attend to. But in the meantime, I've had a little bit of a shed clean up. I've got a bit more room in here now. As you can see, it's a bit messy still. I should have tidied up before this video, but well. Got myself a metalworking corner here now. Got the air plenisher there. My anvil. Hammers and dollies. My shrinker stretcher. My English wheel. And the new addition is my bandsaw for cutting pipes and tubes. You would have seen that in the last video if you had watched it on the G60 Patrol first drive. Anyway, we are up to this panel, the inner skin. Last time I was here, I might have shown you how I made a stencil to make this, just a basic stencil, quickly. Now the whole idea of the stencil was to get this shape and to show this part here, which I've got to indent into the actual panel. Now I reversed the stencil and I put it on both sides for the reason that's the outside. Now I've got to indent it outwards, so I've got to hit it this side with the chisel around the edge of that shape just to make it more defined. So we will do that right now. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it's already given it a little bit of depth. This isn't the only way to do this. As they say, there is more than one way to skin a cat. Not that I condone skinning cats, because there's not much use for cat skins these days unless you want a nice hat, but that went out of fashion in the 1800s. So now we've got to stretch it a bit more so we can get this shape starting to happen. So there's a couple of ways. I can run it through my English wheel, which I'll give that a go first, but I think I'm also going to have to smack it with a hammer. So we're going to do that. Where's my English wheel? Here it is. Flat wheel's good enough, that's what's in there. I'd probably spray some WD-40 on it, but I stuffed my can up by running it over with my Patrol, so I'm just going to run it over the area here, just to stretch it out a bit. A little bit more pressure. Yeah, it's worked a little bit, but what I might do is get my beating bag. Well, that's doing that. It's going to get ugly before it gets any good, so just got to stretch it out. So there you have it. Now this is by no means the prettiest work ever produced, but it serves one purpose and one purpose only. And that is to make this panel rigid. See, I can't bend that now in that spot, so it's given it some strength. Now, I could have spent hours dressing it up, but at the end of the day, it's going to be on the inside of the sill panel, and no one's ever going to see it ever again, unless this car goes through another restoration after I've finished. Let's hope not. Now, as I was saying, I could have spent hours dressing it up, but it doesn't matter. Now, how I made this mostly was with this hammer here, because it's got the right shape to fit in that groove. I just beating it until it's stretched, because when you hit metal, it spreads it out and makes it bigger. Now, when you stretch it on one side, that metal's got nowhere else to go but up or down. So once you got that stretch, then you can start shaping it into the shape you need it. Now I did that on the anvil by using the edge and just tapping into it like that and stretching in the middle at the same time, just working my way around. And then just to dress it up a little bit, sharpen up the edges, I got the chisel and worked my way around the outside just to sharpen it up a little bit. That's a basic idea of how you do a basic shape like that. So I cut the rusty bit out of the box section. But surprisingly, it's very clean behind that panel. So I'm going to just hit it with some copper spray and weld it straight in. Not the rusty section, the new section. Now, as you can see, I have trimmed up the new section to size, so that should fit. Oh, just about sat on my battery. Right about there, like that. Now weld that in there, and then I'll be able to weld a new section over, box section over the top. And she's all good. Now I'm going to clean this up a little bit more, and I'm going to spray some copper spray on it. As you can see, it's all ready to weld in. I've drilled holes where the factory plug welds were, spot welds were, so I'm going to plug weld them with the MIG welder. But for now, I have to go to work because it's early in the morning and I do have a day job. Okay, bye.
This is a journey into Chad Custom.
This is a journey into Chad Custom.
Ants come from paint stripper. Burnouts.
It's got a 411.
Geez, I think the temperature must be in the minuses this morning. It's damn cold. Yeah, I had a bit of trouble with the TIG welding because this is a double panel here and they're so close together I couldn't clean behind it. It was just doing little volcanoes and spitting back out and contaminating my tungsten. But yeah, so it's a pretty ugly weld, but you know, it's concealed, no one's going to see it. I'm not even going to grind it off because you lose strength when you grind it. But yeah, I've done my plug welds with the MIG, so I'm going to grind them off too before I put the next panel on. It's way too early in the morning for me grinding. My neighbours would hate me, so I'm going to wait till this afternoon to do that. Geez, I think the temperature must be in the minuses this morning. It's damn cold. yeah, I had a bit of trouble with the TIG welding because this is a double panel here and they're so close together I couldn't clean behind it. It was just doing little volcanoes and spitting back out and contaminating my tungsten. But yeah, so it's a pretty ugly weld, but you know, it's concealed, no one's going to see it. I'm not even going to grind it off because you lose strength when you grind it. But yeah, I've done my plug welds with the MIG, so I'm going to grind them off too before I put the next panel on. It's way too early in the morning for me grinding. My neighbours would hate me, so I'm going to wait till this afternoon to do that. Okay. So the box is plug welded in and tacked around where I'm going to TIG. I tacked it in with the MIG just because it was quicker and easier to, so I didn't have to clamp it. Easier to get it in position. Alright, let's TIG it in. Last step will be cleaning. That's that, it's all welded in. I've still got to clean it up a bit, but my belt sander, she's gone blunt. There's basically nothing left on that. There's a cheap belt as it was. So I'm going to get another one of those so I can clean up all of this a little bit nicer. Well, that is that part done and dusted. Next, I'll probably clean out all the rubbish from in the car so I can tip it up on its side a bit more because there's a couple of rust patches underneath that need doing. But that's it for this session. Me and my buddy Kurt here. We'll see you around.
Oh no, Rusty, piece of shit. Got every intention of making it sit.